Welcome, and apologies for the crowdedness, but we're glad to see all of you here. And I'm going to let Nushin come up here because she really did a lot of the legwork on putting the program together, and she can tell you what the agenda is. Okay.
All right, I'll just think you speak. Okay. Hi, my name is Nushin Latour. I work on communications and marketing for the Clinical and Translational Science Institute at UCSF. So what do? We do a lot of things. Actually, we serve researchers, faculty, various people on campus. We provide resources. We have funding opportunities, and one of the products we actually run is called UCSF Profiles. So today we are going to have a talk about UCSF Profiles, and we will also have a talk about LinkedIn, and they serve very different purposes, but there actually are some similarities, and there's going to be time for Q&A at the end as well. And a little bit more on the Bootcamp and why we even have this kind of series starting. About 6 months ago, we had surveyed case scholars on topics around social media that they were interested in, and blogging and Twitter was a topic that actually tied with LinkedIn and UCSF Profiles. So we've hosted the Twitter Bootcamp, and it's online, and we can share that link with you afterwards, but this was kind of the segue to our Bootcamp to continue for you guys. So without much further ado, I'm going to introduce Brian Turner. He's our product director at CTSI and also manages Profiles.
Thanks. How many people have heard of Profiles and or know that they have a profile page? Okay. Good. First of all, if you don't have a profile page and you're associated with UCSF, i.e. you have an O2 number, then email us at profiles@ucsf.edu and we'll get you a profile page set up. If we can. Also, I just want to give a little background on it, and then I'll introduce Rich Schneider, who's going to talk in depth about how he uses Profiles to promote his work and to show his work within the system. UCSF Profiles is what we call a research networking tool. It's kind of like LinkedIn for researchers. It's a way to connect to other people and find collaborators to show your work. It's kind of a two-way street, basically. And it's for the whole campus, even though it's supported by CTSI. Right now we have about 6,700, actually the number's here. We have 6,746 profiles pages active. That includes all faculty who get pages automatically, postdocs, residents, all those groups get pages automatically. Other people are brought in by an opt-in process. The data comes from the directory for the basic, the address and phone number, that kind of stuff comes from the directory, so it's all public information. We also bring in your publications from PubMed. But with that, I'm just going to introduce Rich and let him go into the more depth. Rich from the School of Medicine, the Department of Orthopedic Surgery, and he's one of our avid users. I can't see it upside down. I've got your page up here.
All right, that's it. Sure. Thanks, Brian.
Sure thing.
So to be honest, I wasn't exactly sure why I was asked to do this other than stand up here and walk you through my profiles page, which I'm more than happy to do. And I can tell you what I've done to enhance and customize some of the things that are brought automatically. I'm happy to take questions. We can talk about things if you want to do that maybe I did for mine to help with, make the site more dynamic and contain more content. So as Brian said, a lot of the fields get imported automatically, so all the stuff that comes from the HR directory is shown here. I wrote a bio that I put in here, and you can go through and you can see that many folks here at UC have bios written for them. You can kind of tell there was a professional writer that came in, and then there are those of us who craft their own. And you kind of have to think about who the audience is, and at times I think I'm going to go back and probably tweak my bio a little bit just to make it more public facing. But I just, in my bio I talked a little bit about the things that I did before I got here and what I did when I got here and the things that I'm interested in. I've added websites to my page.
I need to reload the page.
Of course, technical difficulty.
Oh, is it because it's in Safari?
Sorry.
It's because it's Safari.
I don't know. Safari wants
Let's see if we can go from here.
Cursive live demo.
Well, okay, let's just stop for a second. I'll just back up for a second and just kind of give you the big picture, and then while the maybe the technology will catch up in a minute. But really, for me, the whole point of using profiles is to feature my work, create a point where people from outside the university and within the university can come and find things out about me. There's some really nice features to profiles that I take advantage of. One of them is all of the concepts that relate to my work. You can see all the things that, I think this is just an automated process based on Library of Congress subject headings or something like that, where my work has been indexed and now these things are being pulled. So people who are interested in the work that I'm doing can come and see the things that I've done. All the co-authors that I've had here within UCSF. You can see I've got 13 co-authors within the university. You can click on any one of these people, see their profiles. You can see all different kinds of visualizations of the co-author network that I have. And this is actually a really cool function. I can click on somebody, say John Rubenstein, and I can see all the papers that he's authored and the collaborators that he has. So this network view is a really nice aspect to the work. Let's see, so the other function, we've got related authors, people that have keywords that overlap with some of the content that I have, and you can see all of those people here. Another nice feature is you can see a physical map of the people where they are around the city, and if I needed to find out where they were. Do you still have the physical location thing on here? That
It wasn't very clean data, so we changed
okay. There used to be one, and I'll tell you, I used it one time, which was when our autoclave broke. There was one that it took my, I'm assuming it took my my address, figured out where I was on campus, and then told me who all my neighbors were, which I didn't know all my neighbors upstairs and downstairs, and I found an autoclave that when ours broke. So that was really helpful. Let's see. Oh, it's okay. Now websites have loaded. That's great. Okay. So what I've done here is I've added websites to the web page so that I can feature the other places where I'm involved at UCSF. I should say that the adding content to the profiles page is extremely easy. You just log in through your My Access account, and you're on an interface that looks very much like this, with an ability to customize. And if we have time, maybe I can show how to do that. It's extremely straightforward. But one of the things I was able to do is add websites. So here's my departmental website. Here's a graduate program, some graduate programs that I participate in. I then also went ahead and added some other content that I thought would be useful. So for example, Scopus, which is a large database of research articles, which is an Elsevier product. I put my Scopus author identifier. And then I also linked up to this Orchid, which is a nonprofit organization that allows me to have a unique identifier. If you go to Google and you type Richard Schneider, you get hundreds of Richard Schneiders, and I'm not one of those people who has a unique name, and so it's really hard sometimes for funding agencies or co-authors or other people to figure out which is the right Richard Schneider. I don't even know which is the right Richard Schneider. But the point is, Orchid is a way that you can register, and you get a unique Orchid ID. And this is the Orchid project, and there are currently, I don't know how many, hundreds of thousands of people here, 1.1 million Orchid IDs right now, and counting. And so I actually would encourage everybody to register with Orchid. And what it does is it pulls from the NIH, it pulls from a variety of trusted entities, and you link that up. It asks you, is this your paper, is this your grant, and you verify that, and now you have a unique identifier, which I'm hoping that, and Brian tells me that in the next iteration, our profiles pages, I hope, will have your Orchid ID featured prominently right up at the top or somewhere on the page, so that anyone coming from the outside can say, okay, in fact, this is the person that we're looking for, and it's been externally validated. Okay. So I added website info. I added featured videos. Right now, this embeds if you have content on YouTube. Yeah, you do.
I have a quick question. As far as websites, is it also appropriate to include websites for professional organizations that you play a major role in?
It's really, my sense is up to you. There are no strong criteria for how you, I mean, you only, it used to be 5. I don't know, is there still a limit on the number? No, so now you can put as many on there as you want, I guess. But you, yeah, I think it's a good opportunity to feature or promote the other things that you might be involved with. What these are for me is when you land on these pages, they actually take you to my landing page at that program. And you didn't recognize me there. But, so that's what I do. I try to keep the links current, so it takes me. So if a graduate student comes and they want to see what program I'm involved in, they can go to that link, for example. Right now, I've added some video content. The limitations are things that have to be embedded on YouTube. I've had other videos that I'd love to be able to feature, and I guess we're working on another iteration to involve video from other sources. This is a video that I did promoting open access at UC Berkeley a couple of years ago, and so that's featured there. You don't have to watch it. That was in 2012. And then this is an automatic news feed that pulls all kinds of news items that, you know, if I get interviewed or something like that, and so that's a nice feature. And I believe you can, so this is actually a radio interview, so it's an MP3 of a radio interview that I plugged into that as well. Then in terms of awards and grants and things like that, this is a feed directly from the NIH, so it just pulls out of probably the eReporter database from the NIH, and it shows all the funding. I've heard people ask for the ability to add non-NIH data. I don't necessarily know what the status of that is, but there are lots of other fellowships and awards, and perhaps there's a way to, in the future, get data from contracts and grants or something like that.
We looked at that as well. It's also coming from Harvard. This code base primarily comes from Harvard, and it's an open source version that we implement here. So if we know they're adding things, we're not going to add it ourselves because it's on the way. But I'm not sure exactly when. But yes, they want to be able to add in other grants as well.
Yeah. Then there's another category which shows kind of what in this case, the largest concentration of language that I use to describe my work. I'm a developmental biologist. I focus on the population of cells. I use a quail duck chimeric system that we developed here, and this outlinks to another profile on this site called Node, and lets you see all kinds of activity in a different way, visualizing your activity. Then there's a publication list that pulls from PubMed. And I have added a lot of other papers that are not in PubMed, and again, this is a really easy thing to manage on the content management side, where you see your PubMed list and then you can customize and add in other references. So for example, book chapters, here like number 4 was a book chapter we published last year, and that was not pulled from PubMed. You can see all the ones that pull from PubMed show this little PubMed field. And a thing that I had pushed for, and I'm really happy to see that the profiles team was able to integrate this, is as these alt-metric statistics. And so just getting up on my soapbox for 1 second here, which is that what we hope is that in the future people will pay more attention to the impact of individual works rather than the journal in which a work was published. And one way of measuring the impact of a work is through what we call alt metrics or alternative metrics. How many times an article has been downloaded and tweeted, or news has been written about it, or it's been cited. And so rather than rely on impact factor for the journal, for example, alt metrics will be hopefully a way of, did I lose that somewhere? Be a way of managing all of that. So.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
When you said that there were chapters, like I'm looking at mine, and the only things that are in there are what was pulled from PubMed. Right. So did you put your chapters in yourself? Yes,
I did. So what I did was I went through, the default was the list of PubMed, and then I went through and I just entered in each of the book chapters, just using the same format that the PubMed had used.
So you just need to do it yourself?
Yeah, you just manually enter. So I have book chapters in there. So anything that doesn't have this little red, this blue PubMed hyperlink, So if there's an article I wrote in a journal that's not indexed on PubMed on scholarly communication, I added all of that in, and that allowed me to have a complete bibliography rather than, because there's a lot of stuff that I wrote that, for example, book chapters and review articles that might not necessarily be indexed. The other thing that I'm hoping that we'll have at some point, right now when you click on an article, for example, it takes you out to PubMed and to the article, but a lot of my articles are already in PubMed Central, and many of them are in the UC open access repository called eScholarship, and at some point I'd love to see a link to that right here where all of my work would be freely available to people coming. What I hope is that Profiles becomes the academic home for everything that we do, so anyone from the outside can come and kind of see the totality of what we do as researchers, all represented on our Profiles page. Let's see, what else can I show you? So other than that, that's really the content that I've added. And I guess there are other fields in on the CMS side that I've hidden. There are fields like social media and other things. I can link them to other pages. I don't do a lot of social media. In fact, I don't really do any social media, which is why I'm hoping that Profiles becomes the hub for kind of our research activity. But there are things that I've hidden that other people, individual users, could decide whether or not they wanted them to be shown or not. And I think some of these other fields can be hidden as well that I've opted to reveal. So, yeah.
So I actually have a question about adding the articles, and this might have been solved since then, but maybe about a year ago I had an article published in a new journal that at that time was not yet indexed in PubMed. Since then it has been. So I added the reference manually, and then I actually included the link to it was open access journal, to the journal page, because there was on that interface place to add the link. But the link was never live. Later that resolved by itself because the journal got indexed and now it links to PubMed. But my question is A, why was there a link to the website? People put in if this was not live, and B, why can't we add links?
Right, and that's a great question for Brian's team. So I did notice that as well. On some of the ones that you manually entered, there was an opportunity to actually to have a PDF or a hyperlink, and that's no longer, that doesn't function, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think it's ever really worked. Again,
it didn't work, yes.
Yeah. Again, the code-based members of Harvard, they control when to fix those bugs, and I kind of think that the product timeline is all theirs. We reported those things back to them, but they backlog of things we're working on. So yeah, I don't have a good answer to that, unfortunately, other than it's free and we know we pay for it.
Because that's what you would really want, right? If it's kind of like, it's helpful to have a reference, but people really want to be able to link, not go and paste it, somewhere.
Right.
Search for it, like laboriously, and yeah.
Yeah, I would make a sales pitch. As you can hear, Brian and his team, they have limited resources around this, and we're reliant on an external organization, which obviously is not that reliable to kind of come up with a product that we can use. So clearly it would be really useful if we could invest resources on this on our institution side. So if people have the ability to advocate for resources for the Profiles page, I think that would be really helpful.
And to defend Harvard a little bit, they don't have the visualization, they built the product as it is largely today. We did a lot of UI work because they're not so great at that, but yeah, it's been a collaborative effort. But definitely there are things we would like to see fixed that we're not seeing.
But of course you could make an argument that having a link to the published paper would be of more value than, network visualization, which people rarely use.
Right.
But I understand that's not your decision.
Well, don't forget the charge of the CTSI the charge was to create research networks. Right. So the network functionality on all of it, it's really powerful, and it's been adopted in lots of other contexts. But yeah, that wasn't the primary.
Could add information?
Yeah, there is a field for that. There's not a field for that, I think.
There is in the ontology, there's not in the product right now. That piece they pull in from Node has patents.
Right. So.
But they have to change their interfaces now. You can log in to get there, so I'm not sure what's happening with that. But yeah, that's the only way we have patents right now.
Yeah, there are places where you can do some workarounds, it seems, to get information in there that might not necessarily, like I added, for example, this is a video article that I added, which is not really a news item, but it's a video of surgery. So I won't bore you with it, but, and I would have loved that to be up as a featured video, but because of the limitations, it's only YouTube embedded. So I've kind of been using it enough to figure out how to work around some of the limitations. But that being said, I think there's a lot of power in what you can actually do without having to worry about working around.
Do you have a recommendation for how far to go back with citations? You know, I noticed like 2000 was, I think, your last one and stuff. Do you,
No, it's
is
just,
this inclusive?
this is
everything?
1995.
Oh, you did.
Yeah. So this is an article I wrote as an undergraduate that's not indexed as a book chapter, and then 1998. So I put everything. I mean, like I said, I really feel like this should represent the totality of your. This is your CV. This is your public face, and so one of the functions I think of this content is to, help, say for example, a reporter find an expert, or a patient find an expert in whatever he or she is looking for. And so I've had reporters call me, ask them how they found me. They found me on my profiles page, and so I want to represent everything there. I don't know if there's, I haven't. Here's a list all. So right now, can you set how many you show?
It'll pull in whatever is in PubMed.
But it might be nice, I mean, at some point, if that's an easy fix, to have, show most recent, list all, and then time.
There's a featured section where you can put in your hottest articles.
I see.
As a separate section higher.
Right. I mean, there are other nice ways of visualizing that don't have the whole long list, which this timeline kind of shows my productivity and over, since I started in 1998.
One of the publications, we have an API to the advanced system, so faculty can pull their publications into advanced from profiles.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point too. I chair my department's web committee, and we've completely redone our department's website so that it pulls all of the content from, actually pulls content from profiles, so that when you go and look at our faculty pages, no one in our department has to update their CV on our departmental website. It pulls the picture, it pulls the HR data, and it pulls publications, and it just, so if I make an update on my profiles page, it automatically updates my departmental website. And when I talk to people who are making websites, new websites, I encourage everybody to just have a conversation with the profiles team and figure out. It's really straightforward how to just pull data from profiles, and so that way faculty just have to, or a delegate just have to update in one place, and all of that information will get distributed out to the rest of the university. Yeah.
I just wonder, when you get your feed from Advance, can you add your individual articles like you did? If you do it again, would it erase what you added?
No, it just seems to addend rather than overwrite, as far as I could tell. But
It's the other way, it pulls into advance from here.
yeah, right. It goes from here into advanced. So if you want to, right.
Yeah, it's one directional.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, I just had a website question. So I'm assuming, like, when I look at my profile, it doesn't have a category for a web page?
Yeah, you just have to, on the CMS side, on the content management side, when you log in through My Access, there's a whole kind of there's columns of
And then
things
you have to sort of say you want to pull that in.
So right, so it can be hidden or public, and you just make it public,
Okay.
then it shows up, and then you can just add that content.
Got it, thanks.
Yeah.
Richard, how did you get that first section in yours? Mine doesn't seem to.
With this up here?
Yeah, how did you? I thought I saw a biography.
I think it's automatic.
Oh, this one for a bio, this part?
So yes, your overview is on top, and mine's like fourth or something. And I can't see any way of sort of changing the categories. How did you get your overview up top?
It just, I don't know.
The first one, he doesn't have awards. Things that go above it are awards and
Education.
Education.
Oh, so you can't
Okay.
play with the order. The order is.
Right, so I've hidden the awards section, and
Got it, okay.
what was the other one?
Education.
Yeah, I don't know why those aren't up there. They used to be. So maybe I shut them off inadvertently. But I did have awards in my education.
I like overview being first.
Yeah, education is only automatic if you are a UCSF alum.
Interesting. Okay.
We worked with my group to bring that data over. So, yeah.
I see.
We
Okay.
had a source for the data. If we can get a source for the data, we'll try to put it in, but it's often hard to get data, and of course it's integrated with all the Schneiders running around the world. But, yeah.
Okay. Other questions?
No, we're actually gonna have some time at the end for Q&A, so what we could do now is move on to Eric's presentation on LinkedIn. And actually Eric has a question for Rich. And also wanted to note there is gonna be an optional session from 1 to 1:30 for if you need any training or personal help with your pages.
So what content is public versus like in-network public and internet public?
Right now, there are the three settings. You can have it for people who are signed in, so you'll only see sections if you have logged in with My Access. Very few people do that so far. We're trying to encourage that and build features that they'll want when they do log in. So there's public, there's logged in, and there's only me, which is basically private. So yeah, those are the three, and you set that on each section in the content management side of things.
And when you say My Access logged in, do you mean any of the federated like universities that are also using like in common or any of that, or?
No, I think it's just UCSF.
So it's just UCSF public, okay.
Just UCSF. Our affiliates who have an O2 number and can log in My Access, yes, but other schools, or other universities.
I guess I can come.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.